everyone, it's Anna, and today I want to tell you about the books that I've read so far this year. I haven't filmed a wrap-up in a while now, and I thought I would just combine them all because I don't read that many books in a month, so it wouldn't be too much to talk through, and I hope you're interested. So let's get straight to the books. The first book that I finished this year was Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han. It is the third book in the trilogy surrounding Lara Jean. The first book in this trilogy is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and you might have seen an adaptation on Netflix. I finished this trilogy right in the beginning of the year, and I really enjoyed this book. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but I think it's safe to say that in this book we kind of follow Lara Jean's growing up process, her finding out which college she might want to go to, and her choosing the college based on other factors in her life that I don't want to spoil to you. I thought it was very interesting to read about what kind of priorities she might have and follow her in the end of this journey that we've been on, and I really liked it. Because I've read this book in January, I can't quite remember what the star rating for the book was, so I'm just gonna put it somewhere on the screen because I can't look it up right now because I'm filming on my phone. The second book I finished this year was the German edition of The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, and I buddy read this with Valerie from Valerie Bookish, I think. I'm sorry if that's wrong. I'm gonna link her channel down below. Go and check her out. She's a very small booktuber from Canada, and I really love buddy reading books with her, and this was the first that we've read together. And you can see by the tabs that I've put in that there were quite some scenes towards the end that were written very, very well. I really like the writing style of Markus Zusak. This is one of my favorite ones. The metaphors he has been using and the style of storytelling is just, it fit perfectly with the setting. This book is set during the Second World War, and we follow this girl who is named Liesel throughout her journey. She is being adopted by a family in the beginning of the book. And yeah, we see her struggles during that time in school, at home, struggles that her friends go through, her parents, well, her adoptive parents, and yeah, the different kinds of people, obviously Nazi people, but then also people who definitely do not agree with this mindsetting. And it was very, very emotional. Everything was beautifully written. Like, from the very beginning, from the very first page, we kind of know what's gonna happen, and then it happens in the end, and you still feel very, very sad. And if you want to read something very beautiful but also very, very sad, I can recommend this book to you. Like, it took me 6 years, I think, to read it, to finally pick it up after I bought it, and I regret not reading it sooner because I think this is just a very good piece of work right here. The third story I finished this year was Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and I listened to this one on audiobook, and I've mentioned in other videos before that I kind of struggle with audiobooks. I don't know why. It's very rarely that I rate an audiobook more than 3 stars. The first series that I listened to on audiobook were the Lunar Chronicles, and I rated these quite high actually. And then another duology, I forgot the name of it. But then almost every contemporary book that I've ever listened to, I usually rate only 3 stars. I don't know whether it's the audiobook format that I just can't enjoy with contemporaries, or whether I'm just unlucky enough to always pick the ones that I do not like, because I think there was only one contemporary book that I rated 5 stars on audio. And yeah, Turtles All the Way Down, unfortunately, was one of those books that I didn't like that much. And I don't know, I just couldn't connect to the characters. I thought it was alright, like it wasn't a bad book, but it just felt very disconnected. And that actually happened to me before with John Green books, and maybe it's that too. I'm not a huge fan of John Green, unfortunately. What I can remember of the story is that we follow this girl who, with her best friend, decide to go and try and find this millionaire who has disappeared and left his 2 sons behind. And there's a reward for whoever finds him. And they try to find him. They try to find clues, because our main character once was best friends or good friends with the son of this millionaire. We kind of start off from there, and she meets the son again, and they kind of, develop some kind of a friendship, relationship. I don't know what it was, but the combination of everything kind of made me not really enjoy the book, and I think I rated it 3 stars, 3.5, I don't remember. I think the very last chapter was actually good. I remember liking how it was written, but other than that, unfortunately not my cup of tea. The 4th book that I picked up was Cersei by Madeline Miller. And I picked this one up because I joined the BookTube games in February, and this was the group book for Camp Half-Blood, which I actually joined, like the team. We were divided into teams, and we had to compete by reading as many pages as we could during the month of February, and I had to read Cersei in order to get double points for one challenge. And I kind of thought it was a very unfortunate pick for a readathon. What I struggled with in this book was that it was written so... I don't have the word for it, but it was not that much dialogue. It was kind of slow. Not too many things happened. It was very slow moving, but the writing style was beautiful. And I think I rated it 4 stars, something in that range, because I actually did like it. I liked reading about Cersei, who is a goddess, a Greek goddess, or actually the daughter of a Titan even. Let me check. Yeah, Cersei is the daughter of Helios, who is the god of the sun, or a Titan. And I felt so much pity throughout the book. Like, I felt so sorry for Cersei. Like, everyone was horrible to this poor little girl, woman later on. Yeah, I did enjoy the story. It was very nice to read about, and I do enjoy Greek mythology, so it was a nice addition. I learned many things. There were so many goddesses and gods and minor gods and demigods, and so many characters were mentioned in this book. There weren't that many involved, but a lot of them were mentioned, or at least shown once. And I think if I wouldn't have had read the Percy Jackson if I wouldn't have had read the Percy Jackson books, I probably would be very confused. But nonetheless, that was a great book. If you don't mind reading slow books, this one is a very good one. If you get bored very easily with books that use a lot of descriptions. The next book that I picked up was also a buddy read with Valerie, and it's Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This is one of my favorite first books in a series. I loved it. So many great things in this. In the beginning of the book, we meet Yelena, who is our main character, in a cell because she's being there for life. She has a life sentence, and she thinks she's being killed. Like, it's her time to die, and someone comes and gets her out of her cell. But then actually, instead of death right away, she is offered to become the poison study and to taste the commander's food for the rest of her life to check whether there are some poisons in it. And for that, she obviously has to learn about poison and study all of it and live with the fear of drop dead basically anytime she tries something, which is still a better deal than to die right away. So she decides to go for it, and we follow her journey of learning about the poisons, of her meeting people around the castle who live there, and actually, getting to know the commander and Valek, who is the person to teach her about the poison. And I love the characters. They were done so well. I love the relationships in this book, the friendships, the love, and the backstory of the book, the setup of the world. We don't see that much of magic yet in this book, but there is some magic in the world, and we get hints of it, what is to come. The rest kind of evolves in the second book, but still, I loved it. It did remind me every now and then of Throne of Glass, because the very beginning is very similar to Throne of Glass. We have this person who is imprisoned and someone gets her out of there, and then she gets a chance to do something else instead of die right away. And that's how this one starts, and then she studies things just like in Throne of Glass, where she had to, learn a few things and so on to be the champion. But it does go in a different direction, at least where I'm at right now. I started to read the second book already, and I'm making my way through it slowly, and I'm buddy reading it with Valerie as well, so I'm excited to continue this series. I really, really think it has the potential to become a very favorite series of all time, at least judging by the first book. I obviously gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was also a buddy read, and the book was Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. That book follows a girl whose name I don't remember, who moves to a different state to live with her father, and she kind of has this online romance with someone who actually lives in the same place as her father, but she only has his online name and doesn't know anything about him except for that he likes movies and this kind of stuff. And we see her move there and actually kind of sneakily trying to find this boy without letting him know that she moved there. And we follow her meeting new people, like her work, friends, enemies. There's like this one girl who's very nice, and their friendship is lovely. And then there's this other coworker who's just not that nice. And yeah, we follow her journey and all of these cute relationships, and her still chatting with this Alex online, but trying to find him offline. And I loved it. I loved this contemporary book, and I would very much recommend it. And last but not least, the book that I finished most recently was The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yu. With this one, I listened to it on audio. Again, it's a contemporary, and again, my issue, I did not really enjoy it. I don't know what it was. I kind of did not feel a connection. I really think this connection issue might be because of the audio book. At least I kind of hope so. But the other thing I did not really like about this book is that our main character, who is Natasha, and she's about to be deported to Jamaica, where her family is originally from, And she meets this guy who's Korean, and he's on his way to an interview to be accepted or not accepted. He's on his way to like a interview for Yale because he wants to become a doctor. And they meet just very randomly, and they instantly, like instantly fall in love. Instantly. This whole book is set during one day, like only one day, except for like the last one chapter or two. Everything else is one day with flashbacks, but the flashbacks are actually more for their families, like the boys' families and Natasha's families, not so much their life. And they meet and they fall in love, and it's meant to be. It's crazy, and I don't enjoy insta love at all. And it was a lot in this book, so I don't know. I didn't feel it at all. I felt like a lot of the things that have been said were cheesy, and yeah, I'm not a fan of insta love. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed the backstory to the entire thing. Like, why was Natasha about to be deported? Where does her family come from? Where does the Green family come from? And why do they do or say the things they do and say? Like, the whole race thing was done very well, in my opinion. But the insta-love threw me off. Like, really threw me off. I think I was about to give this book 2.5 or 3 stars, but then the last 2 chapters actually kind of saved it a little bit. They were written like a poem. They were beautiful, in my opinion. A lot of things that were said there were just nice, and it made the book, like, the ending was perfect. It just made everything feel like real. There was a lot of humanity behind all of it, so I loved the last 2 chapters, and I think because of that I gave the book 4 stars in the end, I think, on Goodreads. Yeah, these were the 8 books, I think, that I've read so far this year, or 7, I don't know. What book did you enjoy the most this year so far? It's only 3 months into the year, and yeah. My favorite one so far definitely was Poison Study, and I am really enjoying the second book to this series, which is The Magic Study. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye! Like, how am I supposed to film anything when he does this? Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. That's what you get for doing that.